The XRP spot ETF is officially live, and in this video, I want to go over some of the initial numbers we're getting and talk about, most importantly, whether or not this beat my expectations and what it will do for the price of XRP. Now, guys, if you are a data junkie, you like numbers, you like where this ranks in comparison to other ETFs, this is absolutely the video for you, so make sure to stick around for this whole thing. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do help me out so much. Also, if you have any good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So let's jump right into it and talk about the first ever XRP spot ETF launch. Because guys, this thing broke some records and definitely surpassed my expectations. So I want to start off and address something really important. Last night, I put out a video breaking down my expectations for the XRP spot ETF. And I said if it broke 5 to 10 million in volume, it was going to blow me away and that would exceed expectations. Now, guys, we got the official numbers in today, and it was actually 58.6 million, beating out Solana's 57 million record-breaking ETF. Now, a lot of people ask me the question, why were your numbers so off? Why did you underestimate it so much? Well, guys, honestly, not a lot of people realize this. Canary is tiny in comparison to what we saw on the first Solana ETF. The first Solana ETF was put out there, I believe, by Bitwise. Bitwise has about 30x the AUM that Canary does and has a much larger social media following. They've got hundreds of thousands of followers. Guess how many followers Canary has? 10,000. And that's likely just from XRP holders who already held XRP following them because they're excited about the ETF and weren't even buying the ETF. So this number blew away expectations. And I was coming in conservative because it was like, look, not a lot of people know about this issue, or it's a small firm. It will likely get hyped and likely get excitement, but it's not like they just have billions and trillions of dollars of clients where they could go calling around and being like, give us $1 billion here, give us $1 billion there, right? I mean, this was like pure organic market wanting this, which was absolutely phenomenal. Now, this took the attention of a lot of people because, guys, guess what? This was the highest day one trading volume out of the 900 plus ETFs launched this year alone. Shattered records across every single firm. BlackRock, Fidelity, all the biggest issuers in the world didn't launch a single ETF this year that broke this day one volume. Now, guys, that says a lot because it's not the first month of the year here. We are coming in at the end of the year. So 900, this one beat all of them. In terms of net inflows, we're looking about 250 million. And we're going to talk about how big that number is in a minute, but just remember that 250 million in day one inflows in the most successful ETF of the year. Now, guys, keep in mind, right? This was from a tiny issuer. So huge props to Canary Capital for doing this. Like I said, 11.8 thousand followers on X? Guys, they were not working with a lot in terms of what they had to go promote these things, and they shattered records across the board. I have a feeling if this was launched by BlackRock or Fidelity, it would have beaten every single ETF that has ever been launched by these firms. Obviously, I can't support that with facts, but if you look at how this did in comparison to a lot of the Solana ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, this thing had huge traction. The most important thing to note about that is every single one of the other firms, BlackRock, Fidelity, all these big guys just got put on notice. If we don't do this soon, we've messed up. If this ETF launched and there wasn't a lot of demand, it would be like, you know what, we'll get to it, right? Maybe Q2 of next year, Q3, we'll roll it out. It's not like we're missing out on much. No. Now they're missing out on stuff, and now they're sitting there asking their internal boards, what the heck is going on? What were you guys doing? How did we miss this? Do we have a filing in? We need to get this thing out ASAP. So incredible, incredible start. And just to show you some receipts, guys, I tried to put them on notice. A couple months ago, we actually had the head of Van Eck go on a podcast. It's this guy right here, Matthew Sigel. And he was essentially saying, we're going to focus on Sol. We're not going to do an XRP ETF. And I said, hey, man, just so you know, customer demand for an XRP ETF would be off the charts. Guess what he answered me with? He essentially memed me and said, I disagree with you. Well, guys, let's take a look at how that shook out. And as you guys probably know, for me, I had to let him know how that shook out. Turns out that if he had listened to me, it would have been the most successful ETF in Van Eck's history. They turned it down because they didn't understand how these things work. They saw the overall crypto agenda of, oh, we don't care about XRP, and totally missed out on the most successful launch in his company's history. And guys, Van Eck, right? Van Eck has hundreds of thousands of followers. They would have shattered records. So this guy said, you know what, we're prioritizing Solana. I don't know what their Solana numbers were. I couldn't pull it up, but their Bitcoin numbers and Ethereum numbers weren't even a fifth of what the XRP ETF did. Their Bitcoin numbers were 30 million on the first day in terms of inflows, and the Ethereum one was around 50 million in terms of inflows. This XRP ETF by a nobody did 250 million in inflows. So all of them just got put on notice, guys. That is a tough look. If I was him right now, I wouldn't be feeling too good about some of the decisions that were made when I'm getting lapped by a small firm who saw something that I couldn't. It's embarrassing, and all of them, I feel like, are going to be rushing to file these ETFs. Now, what did they miss? Huge shout out to Matt Hogan on this, because Matt Hogan, in my opinion, has been one of the good guys, and he's at Bitwise. Bitwise did not have the first XRP launch, but I'll tell you right now, Matt Hogan has been talking up XRP, and I'll tell you what right now, I bet you he wished he had the first XRP ETF out there. Bitwise has already filed. Theirs isn't approved yet. They're in the running, but he said probably the most important point, and this is what people need to understand. The median opinion of a crypto asset does not determine the ETF success. You'd rather have 20% of people love an asset than 80% of people kind of vaguely like it. ETFs die from apathy, not disagreement. And I know that was a lot of words, but let me break this down because this is one of the most important things about XRP. And I actually listed this as the most important thing about XRP when I made my video of 10 things you need to know and understand about why holding XRP is such a great asset to hold. You have a community behind XRP that is dedicated and loyal to the asset. People who, no matter what, are not going to consider other cryptocurrencies, right? And I think they have good reason not to do that, but that's not neither here nor there. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. People are devoted and dedicated to XRP. When you have something like Solana or Sui, these things that just pop up and go away, die in a fad, disappear, these things aren't sticky. People like them because they're going up in price. People like them because they might have gotten in early, but there's no commitment or loyalty. It's just something for them to make a quick buck and ultimately get rid of. There's no long-term thesis. There's no long-term, I need to be exposed to this asset and I'm never going to sell it. That is what you had in the very early Tesla days. That is what you had in the very early Palantir days, the very early NVIDIA days, the very early Apple days. And what people need to understand in this ETF news is direct proof of this is that sticky demand, that sticky base is something that fundamentals nor nothing else can create. It's a cult-like sentiment that backs an asset, and that is nothing that can be created other than organically. The XRP army was created through a love and support of this asset, and that will never go away. And that is what the most of these people are completely missing and don't understand. At the end of the day, all these markets are created by the same thing. All these markets are created by individuals and humans determining to buy and or sell an asset. And ultimately, you can see trends in human behavior. What we are seeing right now in XRP is all the signs of what you saw in some of the most successful investments in history. One, game-changing technology. Two, something that has never existed before in creating something brand new. Last of all, and maybe most importantly, right? And you can add like a company that can drive this success forward, right? You can have a great technology, a great company, and if you just have a bunch of idiots at top, they'll figure out a way to ruin it. But last of all, and maybe most importantly, a group of people who believe in its success. Because at the end of the day, those are the people creating the buy volume, and those are the people refusing to create sell volume. Bitcoin has it, Ethereum, sorta, Solana, I don't know, Sui, no idea. XRP, absolutely, and this is direct proof of it. So guys, this blew me out of the water. Long term, this is going to have huge implications on XRP's price because, like I said, every ETF filer was just put on notice. And guys, if you thought the volume was good on 250 million from a no-name firm, we are looking at billions when BlackRock decides they can't miss out on this party forever. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. And for now, Mickle out.